Crayton, in the interest of disclosure, I've seen every one of them. Every single one of them. And
That's awesome.
They're hit and miss. They're hit and miss, but I gather Logan, I mean, it goes out on a high, doesn't it? The critics love it. It's going to make a ton of money, which leads to the question, what does Fox do next?
Well, yeah, it's a very different movie than some of the ones you're accustomed to seeing. I'm sure you've seen the trailer since you're such a fan, and it's set in this kind of dusty locale in Texas. Logan, or Wolverine, as he's better known, is of course this very reluctant hero. It kind of looks like a Western, and even the trailer has Johnny Cash playing over the soundtrack. So it's going to be a different look. This is also an R-rated movie, which the last big X-Men movie, Deadpool, was as well. Fox is clearly going for a little bit of a darker, more adult sort of strategy here that kind of separates these superhero movies from the ones we see, the Marvel movies we see from Disney, and even the DC Comics movies we see from Warner Brothers. Kind of a different look. So if you're a superhero movie fan, you'll be in for a little bit different sort of vibe than you're used to here.
Crayton, what about spin-offs? Because it's all about spin-offs. It's all about creating a universe, isn't it? So you can bring all these superheroes together. What's Fox got in store when it comes to its superhero universe? Disney has Marvel, of course. That's its biggie. And Warner has Batman, Superman, Justice League. What's Fox's big, grand plan here?
Well, exactly. You know, the X-Men franchise for Fox, as you mentioned, it's their biggest franchise by far, and it's getting a little long in the tooth, right? I mean, it's you know, the first X-Men movie came out in 2000, starring Hugh Jackman. He's been Wolverine for 17 years. But what they're trying to do is, you know, they've looked around and seen what the others are doing, and what they're really trying to do is establish, you know, a model where you do have these films based on strong individual characters like Deadpool, and then you can kind of build toward ensemble sorts of movies in the same way that that Disney's done with the Avengers and Warner Brothers is going to do with the Justice League. So the idea is you kind of, you know, you get audiences attached to these characters, and then when they're all in the same movie together, the box office booms even bigger because they're these mega events.
Crayton, I have to make a correction. Hugh Jackman hasn't been Wolverine 17 years. He's been Wolverine all his life. But moving on.
He is Wolverine.
The darkness that we can see from the trailer, I mean, that didn't work too well at the box office when it came to Batman versus Superman. I loved it, but, you know, a lot of people, it wasn't a critical, I mean, it wasn't a mass success.
That's true. It's a risk. I mean, I think a lot of the criticism of Batman versus Superman is that it was too serious. It was dark for sure, but so were the earlier Christopher Nolan Batman movies, and those did very well. Those were very gritty and serious. But there was some of the fun that got lost along the way. I think with Fox is with X-Men is still trying to kind of have some of that irreverence in there. And you have seen there's a separate trailer for the Wolverine movie that's a little funnier. The other thing about this movie is of course we think it may, or Patrick Stewart at least has claimed it's his last X-Men movie as well. And there's you know some kind of emotional sort of moments in between his character and Hugh Jackman's throughout the movie. So they're going for maybe a little more emotional resonance than the Batman versus Superman film was able to achieve.
What about the Jackman factor, Crayton? Will Fox want to keep Jackman in its clutches, or I mean, is he free to go and be James Bond? Just throwing it out there.
The world is his oyster, apparently. He can do no wrong in your eyes. So he's yeah. But I mean, you know, that is the risk for Fox, right? I mean, they put a lot of money into this movie. It's, you know, somewhere between $97 to $127 million was the budget, depending on who you ask. And you know, it's for a character or characters who are not going to appear in the next movies, or at least the actors aren't. We'll see. I mean, that we were told that Wolverine could very well, as a concept, appear in future movies.